The Alpine A110 is one of the most eagerly awaited production cars of 2017/18. It marks the return of the Renault-owned Alpine brand for the first time since production ended in 1995. But it's the A110, produced between 1962 and 1971, that's the brand's most iconic model, and inspiration for the new car. The 2017 A110 has been developed by a dedicated team at Renaultsport in Dieppe. What, they wondered, would an A110 look and feel like if it had never left production, but instead evolved over generations? They didn't mention a 911, but you get the idea. The spec sounds as promising as the evocative new Alpine looks, a mid-engined aluminium sports car that's a little over 4 meters long, produces 249 bhp and weighs just 1,100 kilograms. Its most obvious rivals include the Porsche 718 Cayman, Alfa 4C, Lotus Elise/Exige and the 4-cylinder Jaguar F-Type. But Alpine has also taken a look at the Toyota GT86 and toppy Audi TDS during development. We're driving it on road in the south of France, and on track too. Alpine was founded by Jean Riedel in 1955. He'd raced a Renault 4CV and scored class wins on the Mille Miglia and Critérium des Alpes. It's the latter that inspired the company name, and the philosophy behind his cars that weren't necessarily the most powerful, but punched above their weight because they were so light and agile. In a way, it's the mini recipe applied to a mid-engine sports car. No coincidence, then, that both won the Monte Carlo Rally. In fact, Alpine won the WRC title in 1973, and went on to win Le Mans in 1978. The Alpine gets an all-new, bonded and riveted aluminium platform, a mid-mounted 1.8-liter turbocharged engine shared with the incoming Renaultsport Megane and a 7-speed Getrag dual-clutch gearbox too. The latter is a wet clutch unit with unusually bespoke ratios, and it's different to both the disappointing dry clutch unit in the Clio, and the wet clutch unit in that new Megane we're yet to drive. If you're thinking that a manual gearbox would be lighter, Chief Engineer David Twohig argues that isn't necessarily the case, having no clutch pedal and being able to engineer a floating center console that didn't need to house a manual transmission clawed back the kilos. It means this A110 will never be offered with a manual gearbox. Mechanical limited slip differential isn't included. Instead, the ESC-based braking helps to juggle torque between the rear wheels. 4-piston Brembo calipers take care of stopping duties. The suspension is by aluminium double wishbones all round, which keeps the Michelin Pilot Sport 4s in better contact with the road. In fact, Renault says the harder you go, the better the grip. This is why the springs can be relatively soft, and the anti-roll bars not particularly chunky. There's no need to resist the roll of the car in the same way you do with a heavier car using strut front suspension. The space required by double wishbones at the rear also means that only a 4-cylinder engine will fit. There are no adaptive dampers, but you do have normal, sport and track modes. These adjust the weight of the electrically assisted steering, throttle response, stability control settings, engine sound, and gear shifts. You can turn the stability control all the way off. A flat underfloor and rear diffuser removes the need for a rear spoiler, and even the cooling vents at the rear are neatly hidden away next to the rear side windows and at the bottom of the rear screen. Weight has been chased away wherever possible. Seatbelt seats weigh 13 kilograms each, half that of the outgoing Megane R's. Clips for the ABS sensor cables are made from aluminium, and the parking brake element of the rear brake caliper has been integrated into the main caliper. Which specs are available, and for how much? It's a little fuzzy at the moment. The first 1955 cars are all Premier Editions, which get a high spec, including 18-inch wheels, 320mm discs all round, unusually, part leather seats, satin AV and a sports exhaust. This is the car we're driving, but they're all sold out even though the price remains TBC. Expect £50,000 to £52,000, with first UK deliveries in Q2 2018. A Premier Edition weighs 1,103 kilograms. The pure model is the base A110, and comes on 17-inch alloys with smaller discs but the same 4-piston calipers. It gets no NAV, no sports exhaust, and will cost mid to late £40k. That's the headline 1080 kilograms figure. Finally, the Legend is a slightly more comfort-focused spec with full leather, fully adjustable seats. The others have a choice of 3 seat heights, that are spannered into place, but are still not quite as well equipped as a Premier Edition. They'll be a little under £50,000, and weigh a little more than a Premier Edition.